What's up, everybody, and welcome back to HOA MMA. AJ, what's going on, man?
It's the week. It's Doom week, bro. We're here. We're finally
Right?
ready to the final stretch, and I don't know if you've seen reviews like I have, but the hype is real. The hype seems to
Yeah.
be real, so I can't wait for it. So 3 more days.
Yep,
Uh,
I'm gonna go on Sunday now instead of
oh,
Friday. I had to change my plans, unfortunately, but still uber excited about going. It's gonna be awesome. Movie event of the year so far, and probably will still be the movie event of the year. When time comes and goes. So very excited. Also, AJ, we're gonna talk about it on the podcast together on my other movies with Doug. So I'm excited to do that with you. Uh, AJ, anything else going on outside of Dune and the fights? Anything else to catch up on?
I watched. So I've been kind of kicking. I've got back into my kick of Korean movies. So I've watched
Mm-hmm.
House of Hummingbird. It's a coming of age story. It's not my usual type of movie that I'll watch, but it got recommended towards me. Coming of age of this young girl living in a very working class family out over in Japan. It's very touching. Like I won't go much into it, but it's a
Yeah.
very touching movie. So that's kind of the most recent thing I've been watching. So yeah,
Okay.
can't
Uh, yeah, nothing to complain about there. Um, yeah, I've been just kind of not. I don't know. I haven't really committed to watching anything recently. I've been reading a little bit, doing that kind of stuff, but I haven't committed to watching anything. It's kind of taking a deep breath before Dune 2, and then probably trying to get back into movies there. But AJ, we are here for fights. We're here for mixed martial arts. Let's talk about this weekend's UFC Mexico. Um, the pretty loaded card on the main card. Anything on the prelims, though, you wanted to touch on before we move on to the main card?
Um, I liked Felipe dos Santos, the
Yep.
guy that I kind of brought up, kind of mentioned last week. He had a really good performance, really good performance. I like from him. I think against Manel Cap, he was pretty much up against it when you face someone that good, that high up. Against an opponent who is not obviously ranked, it kind of gave him a chance to showcase his skills, and he went out there and put on a show. So that was probably
Yeah.
the one for me that I probably looked out for.
Yeah, that's a good one. A lot of submissions and split decisions on the undercard.
Mhm.
We kind of split right down the middle. So interesting card, a lot of submissions, which is always fun. Let's move on to the main card, though, AJ. Manuel Torres versus Chris Duncan. Manuel Torres looked like a monster, getting the rear naked choke on Chris Duncan, locking it in. Thoughts on Manuel Torres's win over Duncan?
Chris Duncan made one error and he paid. He got a bit too eager. Like he was landing early, and when he thought that he had Manuel Torres hurt, he just he was a bit overzealous. And Manuel Torres saw that he literally saw that chance. He got him down, and that was it really. But he looked really good though because this is someone who is called El Loco,
Yeah,
and you kind of see that he has this very fast paced pressure pressure kind of style. Who isn't afraid to go in there and trade as well. But he has shown he has more facets to his game, and all credit to him. All credit to him.
yeah. He looked. I mean, he looked amazing. Like you said, Duncan makes one mistake, gets hit. Hit with the takedown. Uh, they kind of scramble. Torres ends up on the back, takes the neck, readjusts, and then gets the submission. Manuel Torres one to watch at lightweight for sure. After beating a game fighter like Chris Duncan. Next fight, Yasmin versus Sam Hughes. Before we get into Yasmin, who obviously won the fight, I like the fact that Sam Hughes stuck around, and obviously she wasn't going to win the fight. Everybody could see that, but she stuck around and at least gave Yasmin and kind of pushed her
Mm,
for the 15 minutes. Was not ever in jeopardy of losing the fight. I think
mm.
Sam Hughes did a good job of pushing her, and what we thought was going to happen happened. Yasmin takes the win. Anything else to add on to that fight?
it was a good experience for Yasmin as well because in most cases in Sam Hughes' position, most fighters would have just given up. You know sometimes when some fighters when they're getting dominated, they'll kind of just subconsciously just kind of just give up, saying, "Well, I'm kind of getting beat here. I'm getting beat convincingly. I can't get anything going." I'm against someone who is clearly in a tier or two above me in terms of skill. I'm literally just gonna pack it in. I'm just gonna pack it in. I'm just gonna, call. I'm literally just gonna call it a day, and maybe just try and not to get finished,
Yeah.
basically. But Sam Hughes didn't quit on herself, and she
Hmm.
kept pushing, and that'll be a good thing for Yasmin moving forward because there are going to be times where, as you step up in terms of competition, you're gonna go against people who will literally not fold, and it's quite good for Yasmin to feel like, okay, I've been through this, and she didn't give up either because with some fighters where when they're so used to kind of just running through people, especially when they kind of fight on the regional scene, they're running through everything, they're going on a tear, they're undefeated, or maybe have one or two losses, and then they end up coming into the UFC to have one or two really, really good wins. And then when they face against someone of equal or maybe someone who doesn't give up, that's kind of when they get a bit more deterred. But Yasmin looked good, and Yasmin has kind of really shown that something that we both of us know, that she's definitely going to be someone to look out for because
For sure.
she's really good. She's really good all round.
For sure. Good win for her. Let's move on. Zell Huber versus Prado. Zell Huber gets the unanimous decision in a pretty fun battle for the night. I thought the 30-26 scorecard was a little egregious from one of the officials, but that's kind of crazy. But Zell Huber gets the win. Got his legs chewed up a decent amount, got the body hit quite a lot, but did more than enough to put himself with enough distance against him and Prado. What are your thoughts on that fight?
Being a lightweight with a 77-inch reach is insane, first of all.
Insane.
And he used it well. It reminded me of Ian Gary's performance against Jeff Neal, but the difference is that he was inflicting a lot more damage and it was kind of
Yeah,
like telling because Prado was getting beat up. He was getting beat
for
up
sure.
bad, especially in round two, and like he couldn't see.
Oh yeah,
Like his eyes were fucked, like just
right.
closed and busted. Some people were saying that maybe his corner maybe should have called it a day.
Yeah,
Maybe should have thrown in the towel, which I can kind of get. But Prado's only 21, and this is only his second ever loss. He will go and bounce back, and it was a good test for him because he faced against someone who is young like him, only had one loss of a similar level. It's just that Zella Huber is probably just a little tick in front right now.
yeah.
But don't even get it twisted. Prado's good.
Oh
Prado's
man, he drops
very
bombs.
he drops bombs and he comes forward and he has such a very exciting style. It's just like Zella Huber, which is a bit tighter and cleaner on the feet, and he was managing range very, very well. He was tuning up the leg and he was doing damage everywhere. It was a really good clinic from him. Um, It'll be kind of good to see Zella Hooper get someone, I wouldn't say top 15 just yet, but maybe someone who's kind of like on that verge, who's kind of like
Yeah,
on it in terms of the outside looking in. We probably won't see him until UFC 306 when it's Mexican Independence
right.
celebration inside the sphere, but very, very impressive showing all out.
For sure. Totally agree. Good win for him over Prada. Next fight, Yair Rodriguez versus Brian Ortega. Ortega wins by arm triangle. AJ, I'm going to say this before we get into it. I think Yair is just a better fighter than Brian, but he got caught and he couldn't escape. What are your thoughts on that?
Brian Ortega might be the biggest dog in the whole company. Like,
Man,
like he has dog in him. Like he has dog
rolls
in.
his ankle before the fight even starts. Oh my god! Keep going, but just crazy.
In round one, yeah, like Yair was doing what he did in the first half of their last fight. He was lining him
Mhm.
up, and he's the first person I believe to ever drop Ortega. Because we've seen we've seen Max piece up Ortega like bad, like in a biblical sense of a flipping ass whooping. And we saw what Volt did as well, but Volt's more damage was more in terms of ground and pound. Yair caught him and dropped him twice and was just teeing off on him in the first round, teeing him off until Ortega managed to obviously end around on top and was able to kind of slowly get his way back into the fight in round two. He was good using good forward pressure, and I feel like his wrestling has definitely been improved on because we all know that his jiu-jitsu is literally one of the best
Yeah.
in MMA period. It was just a case of would he be able to execute the takedowns in order for him to go and use it, because we're seeing a lot of times in terms of Ortega's submissions, it's when it's normally in the clinch,
Right.
against Cobb Swanson, which was his last submission before this. It was against a cage. He was standing up, and then he literally went for the flying triangle. You know, he's
Yeah.
very, very slick like that. So it was good to see a hole in Yair's game, which is the wrestling that's kind of known. Frankie Edgar did it to him, and Volt was able to take him down for the ground and pound finish as well. Ortega was able to slowly wear him out and smother him, and then
Swept his leg and just,
swept his
yeah.
leg. And then when he had him on the floor in round three, the way he made that little adjustment to go and get an arm triangle is high level skill.
Yeah,
High
because
level.
he threw the elbow, and Yair kind of had to adjust himself, and that's when he slid in. It was beautiful. I mean, it's just the
Yeah.
transition there was amazing.
Like you can kind of see that there's a reason why only Max and Volkan managed to beat Ortega. Like you have to be literally the two greatest featherweights of all time to beat him so far. So very very impressive from him, and I wouldn't count Yair out yet, because I'll be real, anyone within the 7 to like 5 range, Yair probably beats them up
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
handedly
he's dangerous.
handedly because he's so dangerous on the feet. But yeah, it was very, very impressive. That's probably front runner for comeback of the year.
Yeah,
Like,
that's a good one because yeah, Yair was beating him. I mean, Yair was beating him up until for the most part of that fight. So yeah, I think that's fair too. Let's move on though. The main event: Brandon Moreno versus Brandon Royval. Royval wins the split decision. I'm going to start off by saying I don't. That might be the worst I've seen Brandon Moreno fight. I don't know what he was going for, but it just after round three, it just seems like he kind of shut off, like he was out of the juice. Like I don't know what happened. I didn't think that was his best fight. Shout out to Brandon Royval though, who turned it on in the fourth and the fifth, and really started to piece up Moreno as that fight went along. What are your thoughts on that one?
Moreno after the first 2 rounds, when obviously Moreno looked very good, and
Yeah,
from round three onwards, he looked gun shy to me. He looked
it
very
was
gun shy.
weird. Yeah, it was not the Brandon Moreno that we've seen.
Yeah, normally with Brandon Moreno, it's all action. He's all pace, combinations, and he was relying on trying to get Royval just with the single overhand right.
Yeah, I don't get it. Yeah,
And that wasn't really good, especially against someone who's longer, who is taller, longer, and also is technically good on the feet. If you're really going to rely on, okay, I'm just going to occasionally go for the overhand right hand, someone as good as Rival is going to be able to manage distance and obviously time you. Like if you're going to go and throw that overhand right, he's going to, when you are going for one big one, he'll
yep,
respond with 2 or 3 quite really
for
nice
sure.
quick little combinations, and those build up over time. And even though Moreno did better in round five, I would say, especially when he was trying to grapple, but it wasn't really doing much. Like he was trying to change things up.
It was too
Um,
late.
it was too late, and even then, Royval managed to respond very well. And yeah, he was, for someone who was literally just coming off a frustrating title loss, where he felt like if I was able to impose myself a little bit more, especially on the feet, I may have had a chance to maybe be champion zone because Pantoja was better than me
Mhm.
on the ground, and also to go get someone who is a former champion and a guy who's actually beaten you before, to go out like that and respond, especially after being down the first 2 rounds. Very, very impressive. But it kind of really opens up what happens next for the title
Yeah,
at
that's true.
125 pounds, because I actually want to know your thoughts in terms of what should be next, because I have a I have two interesting scenarios.
Okay, let's hear your first scenario.
So we know that this fight was kind of billed as this title eliminator,
Right.
and Royval's won. But
Yes.
Royval's just come off after losing handily against, obviously, against Pantoja.
Right.
So we have one option, which is going to sound crazy, but in terms of the rankings, we got Albazi. Albazi was meant to fight Moreno. He got injured. He's coming off a fight where people thought he lost the fight, but in terms of factual on the record,
Yeah.
he does have a win. But
Uh,
a lot of people will probably be saying no. The only reason I say our bars is because Pantoja is pretty much penciled in for 301, which is losing in Brazil, which doesn't have a lot of its homegrown stars. We've got Alex Pereira and Charles Oliveira both fighting at UFC 300. So we know that Pantoja is at least going to be one of the big names over there. So he does need someone to face against. That we're probably predicting at least anyway. So we got Arbazi, which there has a big asterisk on it.
right.
Right, and we got Royval, who's just coming off a dominant loss towards the champ. We got Kai Car France, who literally lost Arbazi, but we know most people thought Arbazi
He won.
won.
No,
We
we
got
thought Kai. We thought Kai won.
yeah, we basically what
Yeah.
Kai won. We got Manel or Musa Kappa, because I think he's changed his name since converting to Islam. I think he's just coming off missing weight, so he's literally off the board
Yeah.
at
He's
all.
not in the
And then
not
we've
in the
got
running.
and then we do have Nicolau, who recently lost against Royval, who was meant to fight Cart, but that fight fell apart.
Yeah.
Now, this now leads to my second choice, which is going to sound crazy. This weekend we've got Perez against Mo Mokaev.
Hmm.
And Mo Mokaev has been screaming for the longest. I want to be the youngest champion ever. I want to get to the
I
belt as
see.
soon as possible. I want to run through everyone. If Mokaev is able to make a statement, and I mean an actual first round all world statement, and he goes up and makes noise and calls for Pantoja, I will not be shocked if we see him being rushed and kind of jumping ahead of the queue to fight him.
Okay.
Even though for me personally, that's probably a fight or two too early, even though he was my pick to be champ by end of 2022. But there was like a long shot. But I
Yeah.
wouldn't be shocked if something like that happens next.
Okay. I like that. I like that. I like that more than the first one. Yeah. Uh, you know what? Count me in for the Mo Makiav agenda. I'm in on that one. Um, yeah, there's a lot at flyweight right now. There's a lot going on. Royval probably needs another win to get back in there with Pantoja, even though he just beat Moreno. It's unfortunate, but you can't. I just don't know if you can throw him right back in there again like that. Um, AJ, that was UFC Mexico. Let's move on to PFL versus Bellator this weekend. Uh, where do you want to start? Clarissa Shields gets the split decision on Kelsey DeSantis. What were your thoughts there? Because Kelsey DeSantis came into this fight 1-2, was kind of meant to probably be like a stepping stone for Shields. What are your thoughts there?
I mean, considering that Clarissa Shields is only 1-1, like she's very much like a baby in terms of her MMA
Yeah,
career. We all know that she is the greatest female boxer ever. Like her resume in that realm kind of it kind of speaks for itself. She really good. She looked good. She looked good on the feet. Like as you respect, like her hands are so crisp and so fast. She was teeing off. She wasn't able to get the finish. even when Dos Santos was able to take her down on grapple, she was able to handle that very well, because we saw in her only loss in her pro combat career was based because of wrestling. But you can kind of see that she's been drilling on her takedown defense, which obviously still has a long ways to go. But she looked really good on the feet. She looked really really good on the feet, as you would expect. So for someone who is now two and one, you would obviously expect it to be a little bit raw
Yeah.
in some aspects, but it's a like I said, like it's a really good step in the right direction, and I feel like she kind of needs to be applauded, because we've seen a lot of boxers, especially male boxers, saying, "Oh, I'll fight this guy in MMA. I'll do it," but we already know
Yeah.
that they won't actually do it. She's
For
actually
sure.
facing against pro MMA fighters whilst being a simultaneous world champion in her
Yeah.
prime. She's only 28, so she's
Yeah.
really
That's true.
making the most of it, and she's actually backing up her talk, and she's showing that, okay, it isn't as easy as people would think, but I'm going to go out there and I'm going to take it seriously, and I'm going to put the time and dedication in. So um all power to her.
Yep. No, that's well said. Aaron Pico gets the ground and pound TKO over Henry Corrales, who had beaten him already. So good for Pico to get revenge there. Moving on, AJ McKee gets the triangle on Clay Collard. Any thoughts on AJ McKee? His hype kind of died down, don't you think?
And that's a shame, because
It sucks. It's unfortunate.
he's easily one of he's easy like even now with this merger, right? He's one of the most talented fighters that they have. Like it's a shame that he's only lost once. He lost against Pitbull in a fight where, one, it was a hard watch, and two, he arguably should have won the fight in my personal opinion. And
Yeah.
ever since then, in terms of his matchmaking, they're putting him against people who are not even on the same level as him. Like
Oh, it's not close.
he's super talented. Like he can easily walk into the UFC and face against someone ranked at 145 or 155 pounds. He's literally that good. He's that good, and he's also in his mid to late 20s now. So he's kind of in his physical prime, or at least approaching it, and
Hmm.
he's been wasted. Like, he's honestly been wasted. So I would like to think that, again, like he literally took the guy out in like 70 seconds,
Yeah.
and was impressive, very very impressive sub for someone who is good on the feet, dynamic on the feet, and has elite grappling. Like, he can sub pretty much anyone. Um, and even though this was a very very like stat card, it was meant to be champion against champion. This guy was on the prelims, like,
Right.
so it'll be I kind of hope that the PFL kind of recognize he could be one of their poster boys and push him to be in these big matchups. Or and I really hate doing this, because you want parity across all kind of organizations, but you want to see him in the UFC against him facing against people who would give him a challenge.
For sure. I'm with you on that. Yoel Romero gets the unanimous decision over Thiago Santos. Any thoughts on Yoel Romero's win?
I just find it ironic how people kind of give Izzy like shit over the Romero fight, when he was just like leg kicking him, and he literally just did the same to
Santos, yeah.
Thiago Santos. But leg kicks is money now, and it did damage, and he was especially when we know Thiago doesn't have good knees anymore, so he literally just chewed it up. And the fact that he still looks like a behemoth of a man
Right.
and he's basically near 50,
It's crazy.
all credit to him, man. He's Yarel is a fucking beast.
Yeah, he's a monster. Vadim Nemkov gets the arm triangle on Bruno Capilanza. Nemkov, really good fighter in his own right.
Moved up in weight.
Yeah, moved up. Jason Jackson, TKOs, Ray Cooper, the third.
Watched him. It was just a beat
Yeah,
down.
Jason Jackson looking really good.
He's also shown that that fight against Asimov wasn't a fluke. Like, he's
Right.
good. He's good. He's really, really good.
Johnny Eblin gets a split decision over Impa. I cannot say his last name, but Johnny Eblin even came out and had some accountability for the fight. He said it was not a good performance. He said, X, Y, and Z has to be better. I respect him for coming out and saying that wasn't his best night, but he was still able to get the win. Any thoughts on that one?
It was tight because Sanganai was kind of giving him hell on the feet,
Yeah, he
especially
was.
in round two. He was really, really touching him up. It was just that Ebelin is such a good wrestler. Like his wrestling is fucking insane. He was
Yeah.
able to use that to one, recover, and two, to kind of just tire out Imper enough and keep him down there enough, and he was able to maneuver and just kind of keep things busy enough for him to kind of get him over it. But it was tight, especially in round three, because Imper was looking very good,
Mm-hmm.
and Eblin got the takedown fairly late. He got it fairly late
Right.
in round three, but Impa pushed him. Impa really really pushed him, and it could have gone either way. I personally would have maybe given it to Impa just, but if someone says that if you give it to Eblin, I have no issues with that whatsoever. I will say though, any talk of him being the best middleweight in MMA has to kind of stop after that kind of performance.
Well, Alex Pereira still could be a middleweight, so
Yeah.
I understand.
But now we need to talk about your guy, because I said because remember we were talking about how Bellator are washing PFL, and I said if there's one person
Yes.
who's gonna fuck it up,
Let me set the stage. Okay, Ferreira, who is a mammoth of a human being. I mean, this guy is flat out massive. What is he? 6'8", 6'9"?
6'9".
Just a mammoth of a human being at heavyweight. Defeats by KO in 21 seconds the greatest fighter in Bellator history,
Huh?
Ryan Bader.
If Pitbull ever heard you say that, he will
Yeah,
literally come after you
yeah, he'd
himself.
get scooped and dropped on his heads, which would happen.
That's insane.
That's yes. So
Wow.
it appears Ryan Bader's time could be over as one of those guys. But now we get Ngannou versus Ferreira, and I don't think Ferreira has much of a chance, but he is what is rare in Ngannou's case. He is much bigger than Francis, and that's rare. And that's rare for a guy like Francis, who is a massive human being in his own right. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I'm not shocked about Bader getting smoked.
No, come on.
I'm not shocked because one, he's 40, so let me be a little bit more serious here. One, he's 40 years of age, and he's really a light heavyweight.
Yeah,
He just saw that there wasn't much of a talent pool in Bellator in the heavyweight division, and he got a lot of wins over great fighters past their prime, like
for sure.
Fedor twice and a few other people as well. So he saw an opportunity there, but he was always undersized. And Bruno Ferreira landed the first clean shot, and Bader was down, and it was
Yeah,
it was done.
it was
It,
it
it
was
was
quick.
over.
It
It
was
was
quick.
pretty much over. But Ferreira against Francis, you can kind of like build that as like in terms of like monster fight. You got the
Right.
big you kind of got like Goliath in Ferreira, and then you've got obviously Francis, who looks like he's made out of like stone.
Yeah.
So
It's gonna be a fun build just because they're both such big human beings and you can sell it that
mm,
way.
yeah.
AJ, overall, PFL versus Bellator, do you find that to be a successful event?
Not the only successful I will say is that it kind of showed why PFL bought Bellator, but at the same time, it kind of damages the brand because Bellator won 5-1. You know,
Convincingly. Yes.
very, 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 very convincingly. It just wouldn't make sense if you just did it as a PFL event and just put champ versus champion,
Right.
like
It
because
would have been better build that
because
way,
at
yes.
this point now, it's like because like the Bellator brand is pretty much done.
Yeah,
It doesn't hold any kind of value because when most people think about Bellator, you think of it as a tier or two below below the UFC,
Right.
and with the PFL, with their plans, they want to rival that and obviously eventually overtake them as the number one MMA organization. So it just would have been bad. It would have been better if they just did pay, PFL Supercard, Super Champion event, champ against champion. You already know if they're like obviously they're from Bellator. Just kind of really put it under the PFL umbrella. And
Yeah.
also, they didn't have two of Bellator's best guys. You didn't have Patchy Mix, and you didn't have Usman Nurmagomedov. We know why Usman Nurmagomedov isn't fine because he's currently dealing with a 6-month ban. But
Right.
it was good in terms of it kind of it could have put eyes on them, but I say in terms of a product, it probably wasn't the best. Even though in Saudi it looked really good and stuff. It
Right.
just wasn't it just I don't think it caught fire as much as they would hope.
That's fair. I think that's a fair conclusion for the PFL versus Bellator event. AJ, let's move on to this weekend's fight night card. It's a card.
It's
Um,
God.
there
Apex.
there are people fighting this weekend. Anything on the undercard catching your eyes besides
Yes.
Leroy Duncan?
Yeah, of course, Christian Leroy Duncan. I've got to rep my people over on this side. 8-1. He looked really good last time out. He would kind of go back to doing Christian Leroy Duncan things. Very
Right.
dynamic on the feet. He has great taekwondo. Really, really great kicks. Like exceptional. Also, Bashrat's fighting. Bashrat's fighting. He's 14-0. He is a problem. He is a problem. So I'm looking forward to seeing him slowly continue to rise
Yep.
up in rankings. So those
So
are my
there's
two to look
yeah,
out for.
two good fights to keep your eyes out on the prelims. Let's jump into the main card. This fight was supposed to take place last weekend. It gets moved because Rosas Jr. was sick. I believe we both picked Rosas Jr. last week. Anything changing from that pick?
Nah, unless him being ill has really hampered him, but then I would feel like they
It's
wouldn't
kind of
push it
yeah,
back. They wouldn't push it back for only a week if they feel like he probably just needed just like a day or two just to kind of get the illness out of his system. So and also he's very young, and when you're obviously around that young age, you're obviously more likely to bounce back quicker.
yeah.
So
You definitely
I will
recover quicker.
give me young Raul Rosas Jr.
Yep,
still.
good pick. Next fight at the flyweight division, we got Matt Shadell versus Steve Ursig. Give me Steve Ursig. I like the way this guy fights. He's good everywhere. I like his skills. What's your thoughts on this fight?
He's good everywhere. I would give Schnell an advantage in terms of on the feet. He's just a bit more like crafty, and he's also shown that he can actually take a beating. Because I remember when Samaducci was was really beating the crap out of him, and he rallied late and was able to choke him out. So I'm gonna go for Schnell round 2.
Nice. Okay. Next fight, Umar Nurmagomedov versus Bekzat Alamakan. Uh, I don't think we really need to break this down. Umar is a minus 1,500 favorite.
For a reason.
Yeah, I mean, we've got Umar winning here, correct?
I can't say enough how fucking good that guy is. Like he is
It's incredible.
sensational.
Yep.
There's a reason why that like ranked guys are not really trying to fight him that much, because one, they know how good he is, and two, he doesn't really have that kind of like budget. And there's a reason, and that also shows why Corey Sandhagen should be your favorite bantamweight, because he's the only guy who said I will fight him. He even came out recently that I'll like I want to have a fight soon, and then later on in the summer I will fight Umar. Like
Yeah.
he's literally fight anyone anywhere. His opponent I don't know much of. I know that he has only lost once, and he's coming off he's coming off really good finishes in his last couple of wins. So he could be maybe, if the fucking like sky fell, a potential banana skin. But Umar is someone you would expect to fight for the belt one day.
Yes.
He has that Dagestani wrestling, which is elite, and he also has hands. Don't just think he's just like one of those, like all he does is wrestle. He can
No,
go out,
no, he cracks.
if you go out thinking all he's going to do is wrestle and not really take one of it seriously, he will go and knock you out. They're
I'm actually
like,
picking him by knockout just because you said that.
because in terms of that whole like Khabib Makachev like group, him and his brother Usman, who are over in PFL now, them two have the best striking
Yeah.
by far. So I'm gonna go Umar by round one by however he wants. And
What
I
he decides.
and that's something I rarely say, but just by however he wants.
Next fight, someone we touched on a little bit ago, but Alex Perez versus Mo Makiev. Mo Makiev is this is gonna be a tough fight for Alex Perez. How do you see this one going down?
Alex Perez is problem that he's very inactive. He's only fought twice in the last 4 years, I believe, and he's lost those last two. Once against Davidson Figueiredo and against Alex Pantoja, two former champions, and well, one former champion who's moved up in weight, and the current champion, which isn't nothing to obviously, cry about, but he's both lost by submission in both of those fights. We know what Mo Makiev is going to want to do. He's going to want to drown him. He's going to want to drown him because his wrestling is exceptional. He has, in terms of pound for pound, he's one of the best wrestlers within the UFC. He's literally just a phenom there. If I'm Alex, considering Alex has kind of had a lot of fights called off recently and pulling out, and he is quite a big flyweight. If I was him, just literally just avoid getting yourself backed against the cage as much as possible. Yeah. You have more experience than Mo, and Mo at times can be reckless. If Mo's reckless, especially on the feet, you may be able to catch him. And I generally feel like that's probably Alex's route to some sort of success. But Mo is special, and I'm going for Mo round 3 submission. I just feel like he was eventually going to break him down, and he's going to put on a show. Ideally, I would say round 1 finish, but I just have a feeling that he's probably going to go out there and literally just really, really beat down on him and eventually get the sub late. And then you already know if he does win, he will definitely call out for the belt.
Yes, he will. That's what I like about him. He will get on the stick and call what he wants.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm gonna go. Yeah, obviously, I'm going Mo. Also, submission sounds good. Next fight in the light heavyweight division: Vitor Petrino versus Tyson Pedro.
This is a fun fight.
This is fun, man. This is a good one. Two really big guys at 205. Give me Petrino to win this one though over Pedro.
This is going to be a fun one because both these guys are kickboxers. You know what Tyson Pedro is all about. He loves to stand on the feet, and Petrino is a very, very good kickboxer. He's on a 2-fight winning streak with it in the UFC so far. He's looked stellar throughout. Tyson Pedro is 3-1, but after having his one loss was an off night against Modestas Bukauskas, which was on home turf, which made it even more crazy. But his last 3 wins since he came back after that long time off after being injured for what kind of felt like decades. His 3 wins have all been finishes, all been early finishes. So. And he's kind of really getting back into the swing of things. Besides that one loss recently, I'm gonna go for Tyson Pedro. I have a feeling that he's gonna catch him with something late round 1.
Cool. Okay, so I'm going Petrino. You're going Pedro. That should be a fun one. To the main event: Jairzinho Rosenstruck versus Shamil Gaziev. 2 big guys. This one probably won't last long. Who do you have winning this one?
This will come down to, is this too soon for Shamil? Because Shamil is undefeated.
Yep.
He's looked good so far. He has submission and KO wins. Most of his wins are done with the hands. We know that is Biggie Boy as well, because Biggie Boy is one of the best kickboxers in the heavyweight division. He also has frightening knockout power. He has
Yes.
frightening knockout power. Like, probably in terms of just pure power, probably only Pat Pavlovich probably has more frightening power than him. Other guys are a lot more quicker and a bit more technical in terms of how they set up the strikes, like your Gans and your Volkovs and your Aspinalls. But Biggie Boy has legit one shot, I can put you out, anyone type of power. It could be night night. Only really three guys have managed to really beat Biggie Boy on the feet. That's been Francis, when Francis just literally just bum rushed him and just blitzed him out of there. And Garn and Volkov, who are technically better than him in terms of kickboxing on the feet, and then was able to navigate and piece him up in and out very, very well, and using their range. Most other guys who have gone and beaten him, like your Almeidas and your Chris Curtises, they went and used their wrestling. And if I am Shamil, take the path of least resistance and use your grappling, because you have shown you are able to submit people. But if he wants to go out there and trade with Biggie Boy and puts him out, that will be an absolute that will be a statement to be made. And this kind of fight night main event is kind of really to kind of propel Shamil as his new heavyweight. He's kind of he's going to enter the rankings, you know, and kind of breathe a bit of like new life into it. They kind of want to kind of push these guys who've been around for a while out and have these new guys coming in, and that's kind of natural. I just have a feeling that Rosenstrike is going to catch him early. I just have a feel. I just don't know. Normally I wouldn't. Nothing should say I should go get someone who's 12-0, I believe, so far. But
yeah,
Biggie Boy kind of has a tendency to show that unless you're that elite level,
right,
like, you will literally not get past me, and I'm just not sold on him yet. And Shamil has all the chance to go out and prove me wrong, but I have a feeling that he will trade and he will pay for it. So I'm saying round one finish.
yeah. I'm going Rosenstruck by TKO also. As I was listening to you go, I kept leaning further and further into Rosenstrike's lane, so I'm going to pick him to win this one also. AJ, that is our coverage of the main card for UFC Fight Night this weekend. I know you wanted to talk about some boxing before we get out of here. Give us a little information on boxing and the explosion that you believe is happening.
Well, historically, boxing in Japan has quite a good history in terms of in the lower weight classes. You know, I know people around like my parents' age and my granddad's age kind of really would kind of be really in love with these Japanese boxers, especially around like the lower weight classes, like around like bantamweight and stuff. But recently, it kind of seems like there's this new golden age era of like Japanese boxers going up. I don't know if all these kids just read Ippo growing up and decided just wanted to be, I want to be like a world champion right now. But they have around 9 to 10 world champions. Currently, there was a big card over on the weekend. You had Inoue, Neuer's younger brother, Takuma Inoue. He went out and defended his world title. You had Tanaka, who just became a 4-weight world champion. But the star of the show was Junto Nakatani, who moved up to bantamweight and cleaned house. And I say cleaned house. He's 26 years of age. He's 26-0. Rangy, frightening power. I'm talking about like he has scary power, but he's also technically great. He's a bit similar to Neuer in a way, who is one of the best boxers in the fucking world right now, and my favorite fighter to watch. In MMA, boxing, in combat sports, he's my favorite guy to watch right now. Like, he has that kind of potential and power, like frightening. He literally just blew Santiago away in like 6 rounds. But if you're ever someone who loves your boxing and probably only really watches either the heavyweights or the big names in those middle classes. So like your Canelos, your Bud Crawfords, your Devin Haney's, and so forth. Maybe just look a few weight classes below in the smaller weight classes, because you've got Noya Nue, who is pretty much like a superstar anyway. You got your Junto Nakatanis, you got your Kazeto Ayukas, you got your Kancheras as well. You got all these really good Japanese boxers who probably don't get the spotlight because most of the fights happen in Japan, and watching it over in the West is either, if you're living in America, it's at 7 o'clock in the morning. If you're over in Europe, it's around midday-ish, maybe 10 o'clock, 11 a.m. But these are some very talented guys, and definitely not really, really big crowds over there. And it's just kind of really nice to see that a country that has such a lineage when it comes to combat having this resurgence. So I just wanted just to give those guys their props and definitely give something to look out for.
That's awesome. Yeah. So obviously, check out some of these Japanese fighters. There's just extreme amounts of talent right now in Japan. Like you said, it sounds like it's a complete resurgence of boxing. So obviously, guys, check that out. AJ, we appreciate you today. Anything else before we get out of here, man?
If you haven't bought your ticket for March 1st, just buy it now, because you're missing out on greatness. That's all I've got to say.
All right, AJ, that's been HOA MMA, and we will see you next time.